Good afternoon, everyone. Today's Tuesday. It's a great Tuesday afternoon. For those of you I haven't met, I am Audrey Brown. I'm the Director of Communications and Governmental Affairs for the agency. And today we're here to discuss our upcoming telework pilot program. Just a couple of housekeeping things before we get into the presentations. Although the presentations are very thorough, you may still have questions at the end. If you do have questions, please designate one person from your area to enter them into the chat box after all of the presentations have been completed. We are recording today's presentation, and we will be sending a link to this recording as well as an FAQ sheet out to everyone for those employees that were not able to join us today. You will hear from several people today, the first being Commissioner Johnson, then our HR Director, Kim Jones, followed by DDS Director, Ann Mayo, and then George Pulley and Cole Gallman, our Area Development Directors, and then we will take questions. So with that, I turn it over to Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Audrey, and good afternoon, everyone. This is our fourth and final Zoom presentation of today. I'm exhausted, but we're gonna get through it. So I appreciate you guys taking some time this afternoon to join us. We wanna provide you with an update and some information on something that's been a very hot topic over the last year or so. It's actually a topic of daily conversation, and that is telework. Before I get started, I want to let you guys know that we hear you. We definitely do. We understand that several employees within our agency really enjoyed teleworking when we were mandated to do so. So we want to give you an update on where we are with that. We're going to do our best to explain to you why currently the agency cannot telework, but what we're doing about that. But before I turn things over to Ms. Jones to get in the weeds of it all, I'd like to provide some background information, especially for the employees who just joined our agency within the last year or so. So in the beginning of the pandemic, our state, along with every other state, began to see a steady increase in the amount of positive COVID cases. This being new to us and everybody else, our governor issued an executive order, and that order mandated that all non-essential employees and staff of the state of South Carolina not report to work physically or in person. That went into effect Friday, March the 20th, 2020, and it was to remain in effect until further notice. So as a result of that executive order, VR implemented a temporary emergency telework policy. We received guidance from our State Department of Administration to be able to allow as many non-essential employees as possible the opportunity to perform some of their assigned duties from home. During this time, state agency directors were allowed and even encouraged to be very flexible as far as permitting employees to participate in a variety of training during the workday. Directors were also encouraged to allow employees to perform duties at home that were not in the scope of their role in an effort to keep our employees from using their accrued leave. So we fast forward to May of 2022. And at that time, agency directors were instructed to begin phase 1 of our state's reentry plan. And what that involved was transitioning employees back into the offices no later than June 1st of 2020. And we complied with that directive as safely as we possibly could. And then in July of 2020, we were instructed to resume all normal agency operations beginning July 6th of 2020. And that included unlocking our doors, removing any signage that said our office was closed. We were to resume in-person appointments, and all services that we had previously suspended during the height of the pandemic. It was also stipulated at that time that if your agency did not have a telework policy in place prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, that you could not continue to allow your employees to telework under the emergency telework policy. So those of you who have been with VR and DDS for some time, you know that we did not have a telework policy in place prior to COVID, which is why we cannot telework now. We were also told that any newly developed policies or plans had to be approved by the State Office of Human Resources before it could be implemented. So the Disability Determination Services had received guidance from the Social Security Administration on positions that qualified for telework, as well as the qualitative and quantitative measures for assessment. On the general program side of the house, I had asked our area development directors to begin identifying positions that could perform some of their duties through telework. We did see a benefit in having a telework plan or policy as an alternative work schedule option for some of our employees, so we were a little ahead of the curve on that. The area development directors worked to identify positions for telework and started drafting a policy and a plan, and in conjunction, our HR director, Ms. Jones, was in constant communication with the State Office of Human Resources to make sure that we were following their guidelines so that we could get approval to conduct a telework policy for certain positions. So I'm pleased to report to you this afternoon that we have been granted permission and approval to begin a pilot, and Ms. Jones will begin to provide you with some details on that pilot next. I'll hand the mic over to Mrs. Jones.
Good evening. I will discuss the state HR telework approval process and where we are in that process. Before an agency implement a telework program, state HR must approve the agency telework policy. Once the agency telework policy is approved, before you implement the telework program, you must also submit a telework plan for approval. According to state HR, a well-developed telework plan must benefit the agency, employees, and the taxpayers. Some example for the agency: it can improve employees' productivity and lower employees' turnover. For the employees, it can decrease commuter costs, higher employment satisfaction, and increase job satisfaction. Benefits for the taxpayers and the public include reduced costs for the government, improved customer service as turnover is reduced, and highly quality candidates are attracted to work for the state of South Carolina. Prior to implement a telework program, the agency must be able to demonstrate through measurables that telework provides a benefit to the agency and the taxpayers. I am happy to announce our policy has been approved by the state HR department. Now we are in the process of implementing a telework pilot program so that we can immediately move forward with the telework pilot program. And being in compliance with state HR, less than 10% of the workforce may participate in this pilot. The pilot program will start with the DDS and field offices with certain positions on March the 7th. After 90 days, we will evaluate and tweak the pilot if needed and decide to move forward or extend the pilot program. During the pilot, we will be working on developing a plan that will demonstrate telework, that would demonstrate how teleworking will benefit our agency, our employees, as well as the taxpayers. We hope to have the telework plan approved so that we can implement the agency telework policy during the next fiscal year. Now we will have Ann Mayo, the Director of DDS.
Good afternoon. Before I begin, I wanted to take this opportunity to say hello. Since I became the director in July of 2020, I have not been able to come out to the offices because of the pandemic. Now that the COVID numbers are coming down and the world's opening back up, I hope to be in the offices soon and be able to meet all of you in person. So this afternoon, I'm going to talk about what the DDS pilot will look like. It will be for eligible examiners, hearing officers, and their supervisors, which is, of course, our case processing supervisors and our hearing officer supervisor. These individuals will have the capability to telework up to 3 days per week and will report to the office the other 2 days. Telework hours will be Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Unlike during the pandemic, we will not be required to fill out those telelogs and turn those in weekly. In order to participate in the pilot, eligible staff have to have a recommendation from his or her supervisor, have not had any disciplinary actions in the last year, and must meet some current performance measures. We realize that since we have transitioned into DCPS, that many of our statistics have been skewed. So what we did is we evaluated all of our data information from January 2021 to January 2022, and we looked at the median criteria for productivity, age case percentage, and processing time. Based on that analysis, the eligibility requirements will be for production 85% of receipts, which, as you know, prior to DCPS was 94 to 98. Quality is not affected by DCPS, so that will remain our 91 to 96%. Age case percentage will be 35% or less, which pre-DCPS was 27% or less, and processing time will be 95 days or less, which pre-DCPS was 90 days or less. Beginning next week, which will be March 7th, we will have you sign telelogs, and you will be able to take home your laptops and one monitor. That would allow you to use your laptop screen and have a second monitor there at home. And then when you return to the office, you'll have another monitor in your laptop screen, so you'll have dual monitors at both locations. We are in the process of reactivating the SSA phones, and we'll have those ready for next week. And as we go through this pilot, we will be evaluating monthly the statistics, and we'll adjust the criteria as we transition into DCPS. I expect, for example, production to go up as we become more proficient in the system. Age case processing time will probably go up too as we fill out age cases, but we will have those statistics available every month. Pending a successful conclusion of this, and if we're granted the go-ahead to telework, we will be looking at incorporating other staff positions that are able to telework into this model. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. George Pulley.
Good afternoon. I'm George Pulley with Area Development. On the general program side, and for this pilot, counselor staff, both general counselors and transition counselors, have been pre-selected to participate in the telework pilot program, as the professional services provide direct consumer services. The telework pilot is scheduled to begin March 7, 2022, in offices in all regions, including small, medium, and large offices. Employees will telework a maximum of 3 days a week, from 8:30 to 5 p.m. The pilot program will last for 90 days, and we will continue evaluation along the way and also at the end of the pilot. And let me say this. One question has come up is other positions will be considered for telework, but it'll be after the pilot, And as we know, not all positions are eligible for telework. As Ms. Jones stated earlier, the number of employees participating in the pilot was based on guidelines from the Division of State Human Resources. So in an effort to remain in compliance with state human resources and under the approval threshold of 10%, every office and every counselor cannot participate in the pilot. And with that, Ms. Cole Gallman will come up and discuss the selection criteria.
Thank you, George. The following criteria were used to select counselors to participate in the pilot. An assessment of every area office in terms of staffing patterns and the impact on the office. Only full-time employees, no probationary employees will be permitted to participate in the pilot. And this also includes 6-month probationary employees. The employee must have received a successful or an exceptional rating on their last performance evaluation. The employee must not have a disciplinary or performance-related action, which is currently under review or pending administration. The employee must not also have a disciplinary action or performance-related action within the last 12 months. The employee also, and at this point, we've deemed those employees to be counselors, is a volunteer and is participating, and we've deemed them able to telework from home. Additionally, staff will work with area and comprehensive supervisors and their teams to ensure office coverage is provided, and we will assess the workload balance of the staff in the office and make adjustments as needed. IT will continue to work with us, as they have already, as we download programs to the participating counselors' case laptops, which will include the telework log, which is automated now, as opposed to what we had before when we were in the pandemic telework, as well as the phone program. So participants will be utilizing their laptops instead of their personal cell phones or an agency cell phone. So they will be utilizing telephone access through their laptop. This concludes our presentation. At this point, we will entertain any questions through the chat option. So please send any questions through chat.
After the pilot is over and the assessment is done, will anyone be able to request to participate in the telework program, or are only those that participated in the pilot eligible for telework?
Well, as we stated earlier, individuals, and at this point, we did deem that to be counselors only, were pre-selected to participate. But this is to determine if, in fact, telework will be something that the agency is able to adopt in the future as part of our alternative work schedule. And it is also always based on the position. And as George said earlier, not all positions within our agency can telework.
And I'll just echo, basically, it is the same for DDS. The examiners that meet the criteria would be able, and after a successful conclusion, and if we were able to continue, we would look at other positions that would be able to telework.
The question is, are comprehensive program center counselors eligible? Well, as of now, the individuals who have been pre-selected should know if they are participating in the pilot. And if you aren't sure, please consult with your area supervisor or comprehensive supervisor. But at this point, individuals have been pre-selected. So, and outside the pilot, if we are available, or if we do make this available for the entire agency, then that would be up to the supervisor.
That's it. Okay. All right, again, thank you. We don't see any more questions coming through the chat right now, but if you think of something later on today or tomorrow, please send your questions to Miss Audrey Brown, and she will get you a response. As Audrey stated in the opening, she will also be sending out some frequently asked questions, which will be questions from all 4 sessions today, and any more that come up will be provided so that we can answer all of your questions. I do want you to know that we want this to be successful. We really do. We see the benefit of this. As George mentioned, not every position can telework, and that's not just on the general program side, that's on the DDS side of the house as well. But for those positions that are able to perform some of their job duties through telework, we want this program to be successful. So we are complying with everything that we must, dictated by the State Office of Human Resources and the Office of Administration. We will work on this plan and hopefully have this plan approved. And our goal in the agency is to be able to have, get all of the plan and everything approved and in place so that we can roll out telework as a part of our alternative work schedule next fiscal year. That's our timeline. Please understand that, you know, we have to get this approval, so our timeline didn't always work as we would like it to. But again, I want you to know that we see the value in this. We're working very hard to get this approved, and once we work through this pilot, we will look at options for additional positions. But we do have some restrictions right now that we have to follow, and that 10% of the employees is one of those. So if there are no other questions, let me just check with Audrey real quick. Anything in the chat? All right, doesn't look like we have any more questions. So thank you for your attendance, and everyone have a nice afternoon.